Hi everybody, welcome back to ESO for the SWTOR Player. This is Stardust Legacy. This should be a pretty quick video, just talking about a couple of the key differences in character movement and quest order, and a couple of little combat tips for ESO if you're a SWTOR player. So it should be pretty brief, but one of the things I wanted to make sure I talked about was the way in which the character moves in this game is quite a bit different from how it works in SWTOR. And this has been a major stumbling block for a lot of people who I know who have come from SWTOR into ESO, including myself. So when I first started, I had issues with this and it kept me from enjoying the game. But I realized I just needed to spend a little time with it and it actually becomes second nature. So in SWTOR, if I wanted to run down this path, I would use my WASD keys and I would go W and then I'd use the A here because I'm rounding a corner to the left, right? So I would just be using my A to turn my body so that I could, go in a circular path. Well, it works differently in this game. It's basically steering by using this reticle. You see I have a targeting reticle over my right shoulder. You can see it there. That is actually telling my feet which way to go. So by moving my mouse, I'll stand still for a second. By moving my mouse I'm moving it to the right, and now I'm going to move it over to the left. That's changing like the way my character is looking basically, and that's the way that I'm running. So if I have my reticle there in that position it is now, and I hit W, I'm actually going to run off in that direction. If I point it over here towards my stable and hit W, I'm actually going to run in that direction. So that's a little bit different and it takes some getting used to. But I promise you, as somebody who played SWTOR and still plays SWTOR for 6 years, that that even though it seemed like a big deal to overcome, it was really actually not a big deal once I worked with it. There are a couple of movement things that come native to every character. They're not class specific, such as dodges and sneaks, which is like a stealth kind of, sort of, not really. Light attacks, heavy attacks, and blocks. So let's go down. I have a training dummy down here on the beach, just waiting for this opportunity for me to attack it. This is like a high-level trials boss tuning, and trials are like operations in SWTOR. So luckily, he doesn't attack back. He's just a targeting dummy, so we can attack him and not worry about dying in the middle of making a video, which is what happened the first time I tried to do this. So, all right, so let's talk about light attacks, heavy attacks, rolling, and dodging. So every character, it's already keybound for you. You can change your keybinds and settings, but the default is a light tap of your left mouse button will do your basic attack, just like that, okay? See, now that's got him engaged. And the basic attack doesn't expend any resources. You'll see my resource bars at the bottom of the screen. Did not diminish with the use of a base attack. Those aren't using any of my skills. They're totally independent of any of the skills that you've trained up. The second attack is your heavy attack. The heavy attack is achieved by holding down that left mouse button until you sort of charge it. See how I pull my arm back and then I go shoomp and I let it loose. That does more damage, and most importantly, it replenishes your resource pool. So I'm going to use some of my skills from my skills bar. You'll see at the bottom I have like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills bar. So I'm going to use and burn up some magicka. You'll see that blue bar is really going down as I'm using this because my skills require magicka. And now I'm almost I am out of resources now. So I wouldn't see my skills are grayed out, and until they replenish, I couldn't do any other attacks. But using my heavy attack, that is holding down my left mouse button, actually helps recharge my base stats. You'll see my magical bar is climbing up. It's 91% now by virtue of the fact that I've been using that. So most people who do combat guides will recommend that you have your heavy attack built in to your rotation. So I'm doing some of my special skills that I have by virtue of the fact that I'm a sorcerer, but then I'm also in between doing this heavy attack to keep my magical bars up, okay? And you may be using magicka or you may be using stamina, depending on what you're doing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if this boss were attacking me, he'd probably be heading out ground effects or conal effects around him or lava on the ground or whatever. And I would want to be able to get out of that. So the way that you dodge is by just tapping your direction key. So if I want to dodge, like roll back out of something backwards, I just double click my S key or my backwards key, and that did that. If I want to roll forward, like and through him, I can do that too by using the W key. So you can dodge out of your attacks also to the left and the right, and that will just, oops, I'm not doing it very well to the left there. There we go. And so you just get used to using your A and your D, your S and your W in a double click sort of motion to be able to get yourself out of trouble on the ground. So that's for every character. The final thing is actually there's two more things. There's a block and an interrupt. So you get your block and your interrupt right away at level 1. The block just helps to stave off incoming damage, and that is achieved in the default setting by using your your right mouse button, and you'll see that just puts up a shield. I don't carry a shield, but I've got a little temporary shield up, and I'm blocking that incoming attack. The other thing is an interrupt, which actually interrupts a character's action. If they're charging up an action and you interrupt them, you can disrupt that. You can also knock them off their feet or make them unsteady, and then you go in with a heavy attack and exploit or take advantage of that. So that's achieved by doing your block and your left and your right button simultaneously. So you have your right button down, and then you hit your left button, and that will interrupt their action. Now he's not actually attacking me, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate there, but and that interrupts the action and can disrupt the opponent. So anyway, those all come to every player at level 1. The other thing that you have is sort of a sneak by hitting Control. That puts you in that can make you more difficult to see. So you'll see the little eyeball above my head. I mean, I'm standing right in front of him, so yes, he's going to detect me, but and he might have like omnipotent vision because he's a training dummy. But if you try this out in the world, you'll see the eyeball get smaller and smaller as you're, having more and more effective sneaking. I don't think it's going to work with the training dummy. But you can sneak and do, oh, there, see, I'm hidden now. You can sneak and do sneak attacks. You can do pickpocketing and stealing and different things by using that. So that's really handy, and it's available at level 1. So those are sort of the basics. You train your skills by going, I talked about this a little bit on the last video. You're going to have things that are available to you depending on your class, which weapon lines you're choosing to level, which armor weight you're choosing. There are other things that you can pick up in the world, and you can level skill lines on. This is like the thieving. I'm not really doing that on this character. Soul magic. There are guilds that are in-game guilds as opposed to player community guilds, where you can do different activities in order to level those up, and you'll have skills unlocked to you or available to you to unlock based on those. You have racial things. Depending on what race you are, you can get different passives that you can train up. And as I mentioned before in the previous video, passives are really great because they don't cost anything, and they're just kind of always on and giving you a buff. And then you can also train up in your crafting skills. So let's really quick, we'll just talk about crafting super duper quick. I'm going to put some links in the description on places to go for kind of everything I talked about that's going to be in way more depth, because this was just intended to be a little short series just to introduce the SWTOR folks to this game. But there are currently 6 crafting trades available in the game, and they're an awful lot of fun. I have found that crafting in this game has probably been the most fun I've ever had crafting in any game. You have some skills where you can make potions and poisons. You can make armor. You can make, or sorry, this is weapons here. This is armor. You can make enchantment glyphs, which are like enhancements. You can make consumables like buffs with food and drink. And then woodworking allows you to make like the wooden parts of things like bows and arrows, and furnishings and things. In the next game update, they will also be introducing jewelry making, which really makes me happy. So I have been enjoying the crafting very much in this game, and I'll link you some good guides on that so you can get started. You can gather resources for any of the crafting trades out in the world, whether or not you've trained them, and you can make money selling those on the market system. And there's just a lot of fun stuff that you can do, as well as selling your finished products. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say on crafting, because there's lots of good guides out there on it. The next thing I just wanted to really briefly touch on before we wind up is quest order. So when you first make a brand new character, depending on which version of the game you buy, like which boy, this guy's making a lot of noise. Let's go over here. Depending on which side, which version you have, you may start in different areas, because DLC like Morrowind may cause you to start in a different starter area than the base game. So no matter where you start, you will have the option available to you to do what's called the main quest. And I recommend that you do that and you seek out the prophet and do the main quest, because that is sort of like the basic character quest for your game. In addition to that, depending on which faction you're in, the Aldmeri Dominion, Daggerfall Covenant, or blank, or the third one, you will have a starting area with quests there. But you can actually do any of the 3 faction quests, no matter which faction you personally are in. And those are recommended to sort of do in order. So I'll link you a guide for where to start with those. So my recommendation would be to do the basic, what's called the main quest, which is basically for solo questing first. And then you can start doing the faction-specific quests, which you can do with, with a group. And then you can do, pick up all the side quests in each area you go to. And while you're working on those, you can pick up the quests for some of these guilds, the Undaunted Guild, the Mages Guild, the Thieves Guild, as well as the crafting quests, and you can be doing those sort of in parallel. It can be a little bit confusing because it's such an open world. You will pass mission givers everywhere you go in this game, and it can be kind of hard to sort of keep track of what's what. And then there's also all this DLC that has its own quest lines. So, like I said, I'll put some resources in the notes here so that you have some places to look. But I just wanted to sort of finish off this video mostly by talking about overcoming your maybe resistance to the different camera and movement system in this game, and then just helping you get started. Definitely, if you have any questions, if you're a new player who wants to talk to somebody else who's a new player to this game, or get involved with some people that are that are SWTOR and ESO players, just give me send me a message there in the comments, or if you have anything else that you'd like me to cover, do the same thing. And I hope you've enjoyed this little series. I just wanted to share my passion for this game, and I think it's a great complement to Star Wars: The Old Republic. I think playing both of these games gives you the best of all possible worlds. I hope you'll think so too.